Welcome back to Win or Learn, another special guest this week. We'd love to welcome to the podcast England cricketer Dom Sibley. How are you, sir?
I'm good, mate. How's things?
Not too bad, not too bad.
Good.
Chris has been pestering me for weeks. He's probably been pestering you for weeks as well to get you on here. So thank you very much.
Yeah.
No worries at all. I've been tough work trying to organise it, but I apologise for that. But it's good to be on.
I think I don't respect the fact that these people have professional sporting careers
Yeah,
at times.
I know.
And it's like, why can't they just make time for us?
Just bombarding.
Yeah, but Sibs, thank you very much for making time, mate. You're looking well. Just been complimenting you off camera about your out of lockdown trim. You're looking good, mate.
Well, yeah, it makes a change. The last time I seen you in States and I had the old long barnet going, but it's nice to be back in the barbers, isn't it?
Yeah, it's good. So how are you, mate? Anyway, so you're up north now, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm going to do some training today. This afternoon, go and watch the boys. They're playing against Worcester, so day 4. Got rained off yesterday, so it's probably going to be a draw. But unfortunately, got out with a broken finger at the minute. So hopefully back in the next sort of 10 days or so. Yeah,
good. Well, wishing you a speedy recovery, mate. It's good to hear you're on the mend. And, just starting, thanks again for coming on. I think we wanted to have a chat around your career. And, it's a great story. I remember hearing about you before I even knew you around, you were the youngest player to score, I think it was a double ton in first class cricket, age 18. Let's start at that point. I think you were still at school at the time, weren't you?
Yeah, I was still at Whitgift, yeah. So it was a bit of an interesting one trying to juggle playing cricket with my A-levels. The A-levels took a bit of a turn for the worse, but
can relate.
It was a great experience. I remember my start of upper sixth. I was playing championship cricket for Surrey, batting with Hashim Amla and at the Ovals, and all my mates were in double English, so it was a pretty good replacement and something that I was doing instead. But it feels like a lifetime ago now. Yeah,
it's good to see you. You've come miles on your journey now. I mean, you're an England cricketer. You're well on your way to being established at that level. But obviously, you're a Southern boy that's moved up north. You made the move from Surrey to Warwickshire, and I know that can't have been an easy decision at the time. I think Surrey were quite keen to keep you at the time, weren't they?
Yeah, look, I was, probably the toughest decision I've made in my life, moving away from Surrey. I played there since I was 8 years old, and obviously school there and family there, and all my mates. So to make that move, but it was definitely the right thing for my cricket at the time. I think also helped me improve as a person, probably moving away from the rents and becoming a little bit more independent. But no, it's all worked out well. At the start, I struggled, but luckily it's all come good.
Good. Why did you make that decision? Because I think, I kind of know, but I want you to give your opinion on it. I mean, because there's if people that don't watch cricket that are watching this podcast, there's different types of formats of cricket. There's a longer format, which is over a number of days. Then there's sort of 1 day and an even shorter format than that called 2020. And all of those are disciplines in their own, aren't they? Cricketers are up against conditions, number one, all over the world. Even in England, it's very tricky. But these different types of formats, it can't be easy to adapt through those.
No, 100%. And the thing was, why it was so difficult to leave Surrey for me was because I was playing. I was batting at number 5 in the championship team. I was actually playing a lot of white ball cricket. I was, opening the batting in the T20, bowling a bit as well. And yeah, it was just one of those ones. They made a couple of signings during the winter. A couple of guys who batted in the top 3. And although at the time I was nowhere on anyone's radar ever to play for England, I had it in the back of my mind that that was my ambition. I wanted to do that, and I knew that with those guys moving there, and at the time I just couldn't see a way for me to get in and get a proper go. So, just sort of, it came about that Warwickshire, another big club, they came in for me and gave me that opportunity, and it made sense at the time. So, like I said, it was really difficult to leave Surrey, but yeah, I'm glad that I made the move up north.
Yeah. So let's talk about that move. So I am a northern boy, right? I'm from Newcastle. It's not quite, it's a little bit further than where you are. You obviously can't tell because of my strong Geordie accent. But how did that first sort of year go for you when you made the move? Because obviously you're transitioning location, but also the team as well. If you've been at Surrey all your life, I bet like the kit man, all of the locals who come and watch, because something like county championship cricket,
community, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And not a lot of people go and watch that day in, day out because of work. So it must have been hard because you must have really felt a part of around there. And, if you just talk about that and how that sort of first year at Warwickshire went.
Yeah, no, it was interesting. I mean, I joined on loan. That's halfway through the summer, around end of July. So it was brilliant. I remember I moved up I stayed with Ian Bell the first 3 nights I moved to Warwickshire, and I played a T20 on TV against Worcester, my first game 2 nights into staying. So I was actually quite pleased that it was straight into the cricket, and I didn't have to sort of work too hard on, a lot of people join and they have to do a full winter of getting to know the lads, and you have to sort of wait to put a performance in, which I'd imagine would be quite tough. So luckily I had the opportunity straight away to get out there and show them what I could do. And it was difficult. I sort of was doing a lot of traveling back and forth, and I'd actually lived with Colin de Granholm, the overseas, who plays for New Zealand, and it was great living with him, and we had a couple of mutual friends, so that was good fun, and he sort of welcomed me in pretty well. And it was luckily, I think it was actually a pretty good experience, but I know that it can be tough for some boys who have to do a full winter without getting the opportunity to play, but it was all good fun.
Yeah, not bad that, staying with Ian Bell. He's one of our best ever international
legend.
He is a legend, yeah.
How quick was that transition? Like you say, did it just feel like everything happened in a heartbeat? You just all of a sudden then you got to move. Then how quick was the transition to getting the England call up? Did it all just happen suddenly?
No, after that first little initial period there, I went away to Australia and then came back and had my first full year. And with being at Surrey, everyone sort of knew what I could do as you come through the academy. But when you go to a different club, and that's a great part of the challenge of moving clubs, is that you've got a whole group of people that you've got to prove yourself to. So I was sitting next to Jonathan Trott in the dressing room. Obviously, I had Ian Bell and a couple, Tim Ambrose. These guys have been around for years and played for England. And I'm a youngster, desperate to try and impress them and show them that I'm a good player. And it didn't actually quite go my way at the start of that season. I'm sort of really trying to probably over pushing for it and searching too hard for perfection. And it sort of took its time, but the transition from there, luckily towards the back end of that season, it went quite well. And then sort of never looked back from there really, and it's all happened since. But initially it was quite tough work.
What was that pressure like, sitting in the dressing room, like you say, with these established players who've been around for ages? As a young man, were you feeling it before you were going out, or was you just taking it in your stride?
I think that the first bit when I first got there on loan, it was just taking it in my stride, just to see everything as a bonus. And then I then got made vice captain really young, and I was going to go back into the dressing room. And like I said, it was just one of those ones I tried too hard. Cricket's one of those sports you want to try and be, in the absolute zone, and you don't want to be, doing things too much. And it was just one of those situations where I was trying too hard to impress people, that I was desperate, that I wanted them to think that I was a good player. And, unfortunately it didn't quite happen for me, but luckily sort of turned around mid to back end of the season and came good.
Do you get nervous sitting next to an established podcaster like me in the dressing room?
Absolutely not. Can't wait for you to leave.
Right, if you round that up, I just thought I'd chuck that in there because I would be nervous if I were you.
Mate, I'll be bricking it. But in your position, any situation like that, I'll be bricking it.
Suze did text me earlier, said he was a bit nervous about this, but
it's different pressures, isn't it?
It is, mate, it is. Yeah. Is this your
first podcast, or? I've done a couple. I'd definitely say it's the most high profile. Yeah.
Yeah. My man, I'll stick you a little backhander for that. But no, we'll pick up there. So I remember before the Ashes of 2019, which was a really high-profile series over here, it was an incredible one. There were sort of rumours in the background that you might be getting called up for that, and it must have been obviously slightly gutting not to have. But your call-up sort of came in the winter preceding that series, didn't it? So going into the team at that time, I think it was New Zealand, wasn't it?
Yeah.
How did that sort of? How did the call-up happen? Was it quite, were you sort of aware that you're towards the back end of the season, it was potential that it might happen and you had to perform well to get there? And then sort of how did that, the actual first debut go for you?
Yeah, it was interesting really, because like you said, there was a bit of chat around it, and obviously it was a massively high profile series with Stokesy playing that innings at Headingley and stuff like that. It was definitely a big series, but I sort of had it in the back of my mind that I was quite close. I was concussion replacement for the series, so I knew that I was relatively close, and that if someone went down injured, I'd probably be there or thereabouts. And but yeah, it was one of those ones when I was playing for Warwickshire, I was trying not to think about it too much and look too far ahead and try and stay in the present, because if I started playing and thinking that I was going to play for England, you suddenly have a bad run of form, then it might not happen. But No, it was interesting. I sort of got the call and I was fielding, so I didn't actually. I was looking. I remember on the day when it was supposed to get announced in New Zealand, the squad. I was sort of looking around, thinking, oh my goodness, I'm not getting it. We're fielding. I haven't heard anything. Nothing's been announced. I was looking up at the coach, Jim Troughton, at the time, sort of asking me, giving him a thumbs up or thumbs down, and
giving him the eye.
I went off for a quick piss and checked my phone, and the selector had said that he obviously couldn't get through to me, knew I was fielding, so he just dropped me a text saying, we'll chat later, but you're in the squad. And yeah, it's just one of those ones. It's, text the old man quickly and text the rents and let them know. It's obviously a proud moment, but I was just pleased that it happened, and more relieved actually than anything.
Yeah. New Zealand as well, like a beautiful place to be making your debut. I seem to remember, so batting wise, that series, I'd imagine you probably would have wanted to have done better out there. Your sort of, I don't know, coming of age really came in South Africa, didn't it, in the next tour? And Cape Town, let's talk about that, because number one, what an incredible place that is. I went there on a first time on a school football and rugby tour. Obviously, I was in the rugby team.
Levels this game, mate. Levels.
Jokes. I was in the football team. I would get clattered playing rugby. But Cape Town is like such a special place. I mean, looking up at Table Mountain, number one at that venue. But let alone to score your maiden Test match ton, must have been just the highest of highs for you.
Yeah, it was an unbelievable week. I mean, similar to you, Slates, I've been over there on cricket tours before with Surrey Academy and England under 19s, and yeah, like you said, Cape Town's got a special place in my heart. I've got some great memories there. So yeah, to add that one to the list was brilliant. Obviously, we won the game in pretty amazing circumstances towards the end. So yeah, I mean, it was amazing to get my first 100 there, but it would have been a little bit bittersweet if we hadn't got over the line and got the win. And we managed to do that, and I was sold out for all 5 days, and the Barmy Army were unbelievable. So yeah, looking back on it, it's definitely probably one of the best 5 days of my life.
Yeah, it's incredible. Like, I mean, I know that you play with these people. Like we've got some incredible cricketers. I mean, you mentioned Ben Stokes there, people like Joe Root, James Anderson, Stuart Broad. These are legends.
Yeah, iconic.
Of our game, like modern day heroes.
It's your wallpaper, isn't it?
Phone background, yeah. and bedroom painting, yeah. I've actually got the England cricket calendar.
And bed covers.
Yeah, Sib just missed to November. But to play with, Jake touched on earlier around like sitting next to people in the Warwickshire dressing room and people who are retired, but who are still great to the game. But some of these lads that you're playing with at the minute, I mean, mate, like I would be buzzing to meet them, let alone be playing with them. When you're going into that environment, I mean, it's obviously very different for you because you live and breathe the game. But is it nerve-wracking, or how do they make you feel welcome? Do you have to do initiations? Talk to us about that.
No initiations, unfortunately, but it's all very professional, Slates.
Of course it is, mate. Of course it is.
It's do you know what I must say? When I obviously you have nerves going into any sort of new environment, whether it's sport, job, or meeting new people, it's always difficult. And to go into that environment in New Zealand the first time round, I was nervous. You always wonder what it's going to be like, who's going to be difficult to get on with, but the group on the whole, and obviously the guys that you mentioned there, the big characters and the iconic players over the years, they're as good as anyone, and they're very welcoming. And I think they make a big effort to try and get the young lads involved, which is great. And I do think from playing at Surrey and Warwickshire, I played with some amazing big names when I was 18, 19 at Surrey. So I've almost had that sort of from a young age, which has been great. And I think it's stood me in good stead going into that dressing room. But yeah, literally, I can't complain. They're all great lads and very down to earth, very humble, which is brilliant.
Yeah,
you never know, mate. They might be nervous to meet you.
Oh, mate, I'm not too sure about that.
I think it was what we were talking about when you were staying here was when the India tour was going on, and got off to a great start, and the conditions, you touched on it there, South Africa. Everywhere you go, is it a completely different game? Like in terms of the pitch, in terms of the crowd environment, is it hard to adapt when you go into India, then South Africa, then New Zealand and those places?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, South Africa and India probably couldn't be further opposites in terms of conditions that I've had in both winters. But I suppose that's part of playing a game and part of being international cricketers, that you've got to try and adapt and and do as well as possible in those within the circumstances. So obviously this winter was tough, and after, like you said, after that first Test match which we won, which was brilliant, it was the conditions got tougher, and unfortunately we got outplayed, and on a personal note, didn't contribute a great deal after that first test. But yeah, looking back on it, it's obviously a great learning experience. Got to try and make sure that when I go back there, hopefully at a later stage in my career to play there, that I'm in a better place than what I was this time. Although I felt like I prepared well, but it felt so tough out there that sometimes things just don't go your way. But yeah, like I said, try and make sure that when you go back, you're in a better place.
Yeah, they started letting crowds back in as well, didn't they, in India? Like, was it in the second test? Did crowds start coming back? And was that the first time in the past year? Was that the first time the crowds are coming back?
Yeah, no, since the pandemic, yeah, that's been the first time. And my first experience of Indian crowds, a lot, I think we fielded and Broady steamed in. We bowled first, and there was maybe 20,000 people, maybe just under. And I've played at the Oval. I played on finals day where the crowd's been sold out and it's been loud. But I was at third slip and I looked at Stokesy, and I was like, mate, I've not heard anything quite like that before. It was the noise was unbelievable. And obviously those guys are saying, well, mate, IPL when it's a full house, it's a bit more loud. But no, it was unbelievable. Then we went to Ahmedabad. There was about 50,000 people there, and it was, the Indian guys over there, they're like heroes to everyone. And like obviously cricket over there is like our football, if not bigger. So when those guys, Kohli and Rohit Sharma come walking out, it's like the noise is deafening at times. It's unbelievable.
Let's put this into context, right? We have 235 followers on our Instagram. Yeah, Virat Kohli, the India captain, has 100 million.
I know. If only he could give us a shout out.
I know. Sibs, do you know him?
When I did exchange words with him, it probably wasn't. I probably wouldn't be asking him for a shout on a podcast. I think.
Work to do, bro.
Yeah, exactly. Work to do. We've got them this summer, so hopefully, if I'm playing, and maybe I'll get him to give you boys a shout out if I can.
Yeah, all right, mate. We'll leave it with you. But just a couple of things. So the first one you said there, like you felt like you didn't contribute in India for the last 3 tests. But listen, let's go back to Sri Lanka, because that is again a subcontinent. It was incredibly hard, very similar to India. And listen, mate, I love cricket. I watch all the games, let alone one of my mates playing. Now, I know that the commentators and the media were not out to get you, but there was big calls over your technique in the subcontinent. And you put that right, mate. I think you scored a 50 in the last test. Then you went on to India. I think you got 87 off the top of my head. And that showed that you could apply yourself where not only the media are on you, like the scrutiny over your technique, the pressures of being on TV. The other thing we touched on was like the biosecure bubble element. So you boys it's very different from, being able to go and relieve your pressures when you're, in the midst of the battle. I can't imagine how hard that must have been for you. Like, in that environment, you're under pressure and you need to improve, and you did that.
Yeah, no, it's like you said, it is difficult. I mean, that's probably the biggest challenge of playing international cricket. Obviously, you're playing against a high standard of opposition, and probably the biggest challenge is dealing with the media scrutiny, and you don't really have that much in county cricket. So obviously, in Sri Lanka to finish that tour on a high and then start India well was great. But yeah, look, it's one of those ones. Like, I'm sure that if I play this summer, which I hope I do, that will all be there again, and that challenge will be there. And yeah, I mean, the biosecure bubbles hasn't been ideal because, like you said, I'm a pretty social guy. Like when I'm playing cricket, I like to go out for dinner in the evening and spend time with my mates and see people from outside cricket, and that's obviously not possible. We're playing Call of Duty and having buffets in the team room. It's a little bit different, but and you can get on top of each other. But it's I suppose, look, it's the same for everyone, and you just got to find a way to adapt and get through it and find positives in it. And there's worse things to be doing than touring with England, and there's obviously challenges, like I said, but yeah, it's about putting things into perspective and finding a way to succeed in that environment.
Yeah. So as we move on to sort of what the future looks like for you, you mentioned that 20,000 fans in India was something that that not got to you, but it kind of hit you.
Experience.
Yeah, it hit you as a real experience. You got the Ashes coming up this winter, mate. It's going to be between 80 and 100,000 people in those stadiums. It's going to be a completely different ball game. Obviously, I know you've got a summer ahead of you. You want to perform well, but ultimately, we all know that this England team is gearing up towards that Ashes series over there. How are you sort of feeling about that journey?
I'll be honest, later, I'm not really thinking too far ahead. It's one of those ones, like I've obviously dreamt of playing an Ashes series as a kid, and like obviously I think we all watched a bit of that 2005, and it was a pretty brilliant series as any sort of sports fan. I think it sort of cultivated cricket a little bit at the time, but at the minute I just don't want to look too far ahead. I think if I get excited about that, then things might not go my way this summer. I just want to focus on getting fit and scoring some runs and hopefully getting selected and doing well against New Zealand and India. But yeah, look, I mean, I played last winter with the Lions at the MCG in between the South Africa and New Zealand series, and that was an amazing experience. And there's only 2,000 people there, so
yeah.
Shorty was our batting coach, and he got 100 there on Boxing Day in front of 100,000. So I was chatting to him about it, and he said that it was a pretty amazing experience. So obviously, to do something like that would be incredible. But yeah, trying to not look too far ahead at the same time.
That's fair enough.
We can do that though.
Sorry?
I mean, you can get excited.
We can do. We're fans. Yeah, that's awesome, mate. It's been a really good interview, Sib. Thank you very much for making time for us. We both really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for coming on, and hopefully one day we'll do it again.
Yeah,
maybe in person, around the table.
Yeah,
and thank you very much for coming on. Appreciate it.
No worries, guys. Thanks for having me, and looking forward to catching up for a beer at some stage.
Take care, Sib. Bye, mate.
Good man.